Welcome to the new room. I'm so excited. If you haven't checked out the room refresh that I did, that's up for you if you want to see how this room got so much better. Today we're gonna make some plants, and I'm really excited for this because this is currently what the plants look like in my living room because, well, it's been a collaborative effort, we'll say, between this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. These two, they like to eat plants, so we had to hang them up. For their safety and also for the safety of the plants, and it still didn't work because they grew so long that one in particular would jump up and rip off pieces like from the floor. So I'm gonna make some fabric ones, and I'm gonna use the techniques that I used to make my best friend Lauren's wedding bouquet that I made out of fabric flowers. I'm gonna use those same techniques to make some hanging plants for our living room, give it a little bit of faux life. I'm not going for realistic here, I'm just going for something pretty and fun. And I'm going to show you how to do it this time because I've really figured it out after all of, I think I made 60-70 flowers for that bouquet. So I really figured out the techniques, and I want to show you how to do it so that you can do it for yourself. It's actually a very, very fun and satisfying process. I just thrifted a bunch of fabric. I had very little green. This was all the green I got. It's a lot of sea foam, but I am going to make it work. And then I got these 3 colors for flower colors. I'm not sure I'm going to use all of them. Like individually I like them, but together it's maybe a lot. But maybe a lot's okay. I don't know. Still figuring that out. I also got some blue, and I'm going to do a little dive into my newly organized fabric stash and see what else I can find. I don't think I'm going to use all these fabrics, but I have them all as options for now, and I'll just put away what I don't use. So I'm going to do one that's a pothos that's just green, and then I want to do one that's kind of like this one that has lots of little flowers, and I think I'm going to use this purple for that. So the next step is to prep the fabric. When I thrifted the fabric, I also got this fusible web. It's called Heavy Duty Wonder Under. And this is the way that we can make our fabric essentially two-sided. All of the fabric I'm using today is solid color fabric that is the same on both sides. If you were using a fabric that had a pattern or like velvet that's only fuzzy on one side and not the other, you could use something like this to basically make your fabric have 2 right sides. I'm still going to use it just so that it can provide a little bit of structure to the fabric for the flowers, because although these fabrics are not just one-sided, they are very thin, a lot of them, and I think it's still going to be really useful to use this Wonder Under. I almost thought maybe I didn't need to, but I think it's still going to be really important for this project. So first I'm going to iron the fabric just to get the wrinkles out, and then I'll show you how to put the Wonder Under on. Your fusible web may have different instructions than these, so I will just say follow the instructions that comes with your brand of fusible web. This is basically a sheet of glue that has a paper backing on one side. These are the wrong scissors. So I folded my fabric in half so I know how big of a piece of the web to cut. And you're going to want to cut the web a little bit smaller than your fabric. The fusible web has a flat, smooth side, that's the paper backing, and then it has a more rough textured side, and that's the glue side. So we want to make sure the glue side is touching your fabric. So I'm going to unfold, put this down, glue side down, cover it with my press cloth, and then I'm going to follow the instructions for ironing the first side, which is 5 to 8 seconds on the wool setting. The fusible web is basically like a sheet of hot glue, like very, very thin sheet of hot glue. So it's heat activated, then it'll attach, and then as it cools, it hardens. And I'm just making sure that I'm overlapping where my iron goes so that there's no places that are unfused. I'm just gonna let this cool down a little bit so that that glue can harden a little. And then I'm gonna peel from one end, making sure to leave the web behind, the glue part behind. And there's the glue. So now I'm gonna fold this in half so that the glue is sandwiched, and I wanna make sure that it's not peeking out on any of the edges or you will be gluing to your press cloth. In capital letters, always use a damp press cloth. And here we have a much thicker, more robust piece of fabric that is really just 2 pieces of fabric glued together. Now I'm going to repeat with the rest. So I've got a couple pieces of fabric now ready to go for my hanging purple flowers. I have this smaller piece that's a lighter purple that I already had. It's like an old sheet. And then this darker purple that I just got. And then I have a bigger piece that's just the dark purple on both sides. And then I also have these 2 green pieces, the one that you saw me make that's green on both sides, and then this one that is green on one side and white on the other, and this is going to be for the pothos one. I don't know if this is enough, but hopefully it will be. I wish I had more green. I might have to go get more green, and that's okay. Then the next step is to cut it out, and in order to do that you need a template. Unless you're going to freehand it, which you totally can. I am not brave enough for that, but you're more than welcome to, of course. So I have these old cardboard templates that I made for Lauren's bouquet, and some of these are going to be usable for this, and I might need to make a few more. So I also have this junk mail that came that has enough heft to it. This was out of a cereal box, which is better. It's a little bit thicker, but Josh just took the recycling out, so I don't have anything to take apart for that, but did get junk mail. Now that I've cut out my new pieces plus the older pieces that I already have, it's time to actually cut the pieces out of the fabric. I have all of my pieces cut out. At least I think that this is enough. This is my tray ready to go. So I'm going to start making the actual flowers and the leaves. I'll show you how I do each one and then how they all get put together. For the pothos, I'm doing a tiny dot of glue on one of the smallest size, placing the wire right down on the glue and then pinching. After it dries a little bit, I'm flipping the end of the leaf back, a real leaf. For the slightly bigger leaves, I'm putting a little bit of glue right on either butt cheek and then pinching around the wire. After it hardens a little bit, I can flip the leaves down and the pothos strand is starting to look like actual leaves. For the purple flowers, I'm putting a dot of glue on each petal and then pinching all the petals to the center. These look better if every petal is like actually folded directly in half instead of them kind of shifting. You can see how this one shifted, it's not directly in half, and it just looks a little wonky. When you're working with hot glue, it's nice to have a little container to put your glue bits in. My friend Lauren made this. Thanks, Lauren. So for the pink flowers, they're going to have a yellow center. So let's make the centers first. This is just a little square of yellow fabric that has been wonder-undered together. And I'm going to do a long, thin strip of glue along one side and fold it in half. So it's a little bit separated at the top, but glued on the bottom edge. And then I'm going to take scissors and do small little cuts about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch apart all the way down, not going through the glue. And then once it's like that, I'm going to do another little strip of glue across the bottom and roll it up. And then you have a little center. You can do these two-tone if you like, and do like another color around, which can be really fun. I'm going to do little dots of glue on the backs of the petals so that they can stick together. And that's how I'm going to make the pink flowers. For the eucalyptus, I cut a strip of the same fabric that the leaves are cut out of, and I'm going to wrap it around the wire. And then starting with the small ones, you guessed it, line of glue, pinch it closed, dot of glue, and attach to the stem. And that's the finished eucalyptus strand. The stars are very similar to the purple. Since I drew the stars out on the fabric, I'm gonna make sure to glue on the side with the pencil marks. I couldn't figure out how I wanted to make the blue ones, but after many failed attempts, I think I finally figured it out. Failures, just goodbye. So there's this way of making petals 3D that we're gonna use here, where you do a little snip at the base of each petal and then do a dot of glue on one of those halves and cross. Be really careful because this is a really good way to burn your fingers. And they make like a little cup. And then I'll stack them together. So that's what 3 looks like, which I do think is really cute. But I'm gonna turn this one into 6 and I'm gonna glue the next 3 to the outside. And then I'm gonna put this one right where these 2 overlap to kind of cover the gap. And there it is. I might put a center in there. I haven't decided. I kind of like it without. I think these are adorable. Now that all the flowers are assembled, they all look so cute. The blue ones, I put a little rolled up yellow yarn in the center to be kind of like stamens in the center. It needed something. Now it's time to take the flowers and the leaves and turn them into what will look kind of like a plant, I hope. I already completed the eucalyptus, which is gonna go in the mixed pot, and I finished the pothos pot completely just to make sure I knew what I was doing. The only filming I have of attaching the pothos leaves, I did not wrap the stems first in a strip of fabric, but that was the only time I did that because it made such a difference in the process. So basically for all of these, we're cutting a length of wire. I like to make a little loop in the end so that it's not stabby, and then taking a strip of fabric, gluing it in like a spiral around the wire, and then attaching the flowers and the leaves. So for the purple flowers, I have 1 long stem and then 3 little ones. And I'm just gonna glue the flowers onto the short stems. So I put flowers on the 3 shorter stems and also at the bottom of the longer one. And now I'm gonna connect them all together. And there it is with just flowers. I think I'm gonna make some leaves out of the color I'm using for the stem, which I don't have yet. So I will add some leaves eventually. But I'm just gonna make a bunch of these and then we'll put them in the pot. So here is the method for putting the flowers in the pot. Took a length of wire that's longer than the pot is tall, put a few loops at the bottom, threaded a button on, and then I can thread this through and this will be the main support for the plant. I'm actually gonna put a dot of glue on the button so that it's really connected to the wire and has just a little bit more reinforcement. By a dot of glue, I mean a glob of glue. Then I traced a template of the top of the pot, made that a little bit smaller and cut out a piece of thick cardboard, and that way it'll sit just a little bit below the lip of the pot. Then I poked some holes in the cardboard and glued my stems in place. So I'm gonna thread the wire with the button through the bottom, and then I have a little hole poked in the center of the cardboard, so I'm threading the wire through, and then I'm just trying to make this level in the center. I think that's gonna look quite nice once it's all zhuzhed. So I have the central wire still coming up. I'm gonna cut it a little bit shorter and then glue it in place. Pretty happy with it. This is definitely like the most realistic one of all of them because look at this. I think this was so cute, but it's definitely not realistic. Okay, all the flowers are done. They look great. I'm very excited to show them to you, like genuinely very excited. So the next step is to make a macrame hanger. I already have 3 macrame hangers for the 3 hooks that are on the left side of the room, but on the right side of the room, the plant that we had there had its own hanger. So I didn't ever make a macrame hanger for it. So now I get to make another one, and it means I need to remember how I did it in the past, which I don't fully remember, but we'll deal with it together. This looks like the spool has been broken now twice because it was dangling down and Pete pulled it onto the floor. And so I'll deal with this later. I'm sorry, it looks like a disaster, but it's fine. Okay, so I just counted and I need, oh gosh, 6 long cords and 6 short cords. The long cords are going to be 150 inches and the short cords are going to be 80 inches. 150 and 80. That sounds about right to what I remember, and oh my god. This is the shorter one. These will be like the foundation cords, and then this is the longer one, and this will be like the knotting cords. You start by folding both of these all the way in half and putting the fold together like that, and then tying a knot. And this will be what this hangs from. You can also use a metal loop, but I don't have them. I'm just gonna loop this over this so I have something to anchor it to while I'm tying. Okay, time to start knotting. So I've separated out into 3 bundles. Each bundle has 2 short and 2 long pieces. If you want to do flat macrame like this, see how this side has a bump and this side doesn't? You want to start with the side with the bump for flat. The left one crosses over, the right one crosses over, and then goes underneath the 2 center ones and then comes through the first loop you made. And that will give you a flat macrame. And then you repeat again. Now the bump is on the right. And if you wanted to twist, you would do it only from one side over and over and over and over, and then it would twist. Let go. Okay, so I have 3 kind of decorative strands, and now I'm going to start attaching. Oh, maybe I'll add a little more of the spiral now that I'm looking at it. But then I'm gonna start attaching the strands to each other to make like the basket that's gonna hold the plant pot. So basically the way that it works is you start with 2 and you take the 4 middle pieces and start treating them like the same kind of 4 that you did. And we'll do that kind of alternating down and then a big knot at the bottom, and that will make the basket that will hold the plant pot. I have these random wooden beads or buttons that have just been sitting in my craft stash for so long, like absolutely so long, and I think they're just kind of perfect for this. I think I'm gonna get rid of these extra knots here. Oh, ow. I brushed out the strings with the cat's brush and then trimmed and glued a knot right above the buttons. I think it's a lot cuter. Well, there you go, huh? You like it? And there they are. I am absolutely obsessed. They really brighten up this room, and I'm so glad that I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything. And they're gonna survive forever. I wasn't going for hyper realistic, but I do think that the purple one really turned out, you know, I think it could fool someone from a distance. So if you decide to make some flowers for yourself, please tag me on social media. Let me know how it went. If you have any questions about the process, feel free to drop them in the comments below. It is a bit of an undertaking. It does take some time, but it is absolutely worth it. And think of all the time you'll save not watering your plants. I love real plants, I really do, and someday maybe I'll be organized and responsible enough to take care of them. Obviously, there's so many actual like physical benefits to having a real plant in your space, because they really help with air quality, and these obviously don't, but they help with mood, and that's enough for right now. Thank you so much for watching, and stick around for more upcycled DIY projects. If you have any ideas or requests for projects, you can also drop those in the comments, and make sure to find me on social media and subscribe if you haven't, and hit like if you liked it. And yeah, that's it. I love you so much. Bye.